Hey folks, Paul Abernathy here. Thanks for joining me on this special episode where we're going to talk about our thermal imaging course for electricians and kind of want to give you a quick introduction about what it's all about. And so we're also going to be introducing the two products that we're going to recommend for use when you're in this course. And that's your thermal imaging camera. There's two different types. Currently on our website, we offer this is H128. Now this unit here is this one here is probably hands down the easiest to operate, the easiest to get some accurate readings. It's very ruggedized. It's available on our website. It's less than MSRP, so we're giving to you at a bit of a discount. But it is the best camera out there. You don't need to go into the $3 and $4 and $5,000. It's like $179. Every electrician should be adding thermal imaging to their portfolio, whether they're just doing it as part of a service call or they're doing it as a separate function that they're selling. You store images in here. It connects to your computer right here real easily to be able to show to your customer. It's a trigger that can capture the image. All different types of settings in here, which are very easy. And we go over this in our course. I do a digital walkthrough at the end and kind of walk through the features. But the key thing is you need to have a thermal imaging camera to do this accuracy. There's a lot of people that will go and say that you can use just simply this IR thermometer. And really, it does not get to the points that we need to get to. It's good to validate, make sure that your thermal imaging is within a couple degrees of operation. But again, this is not really ideal because again, when you're measuring breakers, for example, or you're looking for certain things, this is only going to cover the point that it's covered. Even if it's a two laser and it covers the space between the points, the laser dots, it's not going to be as accurate as a thermal imaging camera that can actually see back to the bus, for example, and see what may be going on. So anyway, our course talks about that. So the two that we're going to be talking about today is going to obviously be our H128, which is going to be the workhorse. Now, if you have a FLIR or other brand, that's perfectly fine. They all work, so you can take our course regardless. The other one we'll be looking at or talking about is this M256. Now, this one is pretty unique because this one actually connects to your smartphone. And so in this case, I'm only aware of it connecting to an Android. I don't believe there's one for the iPhone, but it's a simple, and it's green, so it's hard to show up here on the green screen. Kind of turn it at an angle. So this goes into the bottom of your phone, and basically you plug it into the bottom of your phone just like this, and it works that way. And again, you've got your thermal camera here. It has a lot of settings in it as well. Very accurate. But to my knowledge, it's only available for Android type phones, and the app that you would get is on the Google Play Store to be able to run this. And so that's the other one we'll be talking about as well, because they both, and it comes with a charger, comes with everything you need in this nifty little case. So two different types. Which one do I recommend? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a big believer in the H128 because of its simplicity. Easy to change. I don't have to fumble with the phone. And I can also use the phone to take pictures of certain things to share instantly. That's just me, but both are available. But again, on our shop, in our fasttracksystem.com website, you can get the H128 that is available. Okay. All right. So we're kind of going to look a little bit at the course, give you kind of an overview. So the course is very wordsy because I believe, and I've always believed, that you really need to be able to read something and comprehend it. So we wrote it in a way that's going to be easy to read, easy to understand, and to be able to apply some of these, even some case studies. And again, if you've never been involved with thermal imaging before, you don't have to be a certified thermographer or whatever they call it. You're an electrician. You need to understand key things. The temperature is going to be the key factor here. Understanding insulation of conductors and what its temperature rating is versus termination, and comparing it to peers, which we mean is mutual conductors or mutual terminations, in order to be able to get an average and understand what's going on. And I don't think you need to pay for an extensive certification because our program is going to go into all those type of things. So we're just going to touch on a piece of it today. Right now, this course is not easy to find on our website because we have not officially launched it. But by the time you watch this video, you will be able to. And it's a progressive course, means that you purchase it, we will continually be adding things to it. So if you see something there and say, well, there's not any images or whatever, we are slowly adding to it. So this is not a one and done. This is a thought process that you're going to be continually going in and out of your course, because the modules are designed to teach you something in every one of them. Okay. All right. So let's kind of go look at it. So here's a course. You log into your course, obviously, as you would log into any other course, and you go to your thermal imaging, you go to your profile, and you'll go down, and you'll see your thermal imaging for Electricians Course. When you click on that, you'll be taken to this page. And of course, you have some brief information here that will kind of tell you what's going on, that type of thing. But the real thing is, you'll see this continue button right here. And you want to, this is what gets you into the course. Okay. So we're going to go on and click continue and get in here. All right, as always, and I'll adjust the screen a little bit because I do want to make sure that all of you get to see everything that we have going on. So bear with me as I will adjust this to make sure that we capture everything that's going on here, because I want you to see everything. Okay. All right, so let's see if I can't capture it all here. Okay, good enough. All right, so here on the left side, you will see all of the different modules, hands-on, your takeaways, and you'll see that there's quite a few modules here, okay? So we have 17 modules, and we talk about everything from real-world case studies to thermal imaging for energy efficiency and cost savings, communication, your findings with the customer, documentation and reporting, how to report it, interpreting load conditions and duty cycles. So we try to go over a little of everything in this course, okay? So the first thing you'll notice is you can always collapse it right here. So if I don't want to see this on the left side, I just collapse this down and you'll get back to your lesson. All right, so as you can see that when we go through these type of things, we are definitely going through it in a manner that it's easy to understand. And sometimes people say pictures are worth 1,000 words, videos, but I'm a true believer, and y'all have always heard me say this, I'm a true believer that you have to read something to comprehend it. And so we made an effort to write this in a way that you can absorb it and be able to put it to practical use with your thermal imaging camera. Okay, that's what our goal was. Okay, so here it goes through what is thermal imaging. Obviously, when you're done, you click complete, and that'll mark it here in your list. It'll put a little green check right here to let you know that you've already been through that module. Now, you don't have to hit complete if you don't want. That's totally up to you. But that's how you keep track of what you've seen. And then you just go through them. I'll go to the next one, which is 1.2. Why use thermal imaging for electrical work? Okay, thermal imaging, not just a neat trick. It is also now recognized in NFPA 70B, which many of you may not be familiar with, but that's best practices for electrical maintenance or equipment maintenance. Okay, so we kind of give you some code references in here or some standard references in here. Why do we do that? Well, the reason that we do that is because a lot of times when you're offering these thermal imaging reports or your videos to your customer, we want to make sure they understand that it's not snake oil, that there is a standard that actually has teeth behind it that you'll be referencing. Now, you may be a situation where you don't reference those things. Maybe you're just doing it as an electrician, you're doing a service call and you're offering a package to them to do thermal imaging, and you're looking at all the significant things like terminations and you're looking at the breakers in the panel, you're looking at the bus, you're looking at all different motors, you're looking at all different types of things. It is always nice to have some type of standard to tie this back to. So all throughout the course, we give you references to standards that you can tie back to if you have to explain this to the customer. Now, in many cases, the customer is going to rely on you as the expert. So they're going to see something and you're going to explain to them why this needs to be taken care of. And some of those things you're probably just going to take care of while you're there, whether it's a loose termination on a lug or something like that. Then you will be able to fix that while you're there, but you're able to convey it to the customer. So you're going to be able to learn in this course, you're going to have to identify loose or corroded connections, overloaded conductors, uneven breaker heating. Okay, we'll teach you about what's called peer evaluation, which is looking with things around it and how to do the balance to determine whether or not something is a problem or not. We also in here will teach you not how to cry wolf, because you may not understand certain ratings of certain equipment and that they can run much warmer than others, like AFCIs and GFCIs. So as we go through the course, we try to safeguard you to make sure that you understand how you're applying these things. Okay, so that's important for us. Example here: during a thermal survey in a manufacturer's plant, one 200 amp breaker pole is measuring at 145 degrees Fahrenheit, while the other two poles were at 100 degrees Fahrenheit under balanced load. Now, the AT, or the delta T, was 45. So the difference between this and this, okay, is 45 degrees Fahrenheit, classified as a probable deficiency per NETA standards. The breaker was replaced before it failed under the full load, preventing costly downtime. Now, here's some things that you'll learn in the course. It's not just a matter of looking at this difference. Now, in this case, it was a piece of equipment, so the load should have been balanced, and there's a reason one is higher. It's in a balanced load. All the poles should be the same or very similar. This one was one that was spiked up 45 degrees higher. So it spawned us, and you don't have to be a thermographer expert to realize that there's something going on with that leg, right? And it's just saying, okay, there's a deficiency. So it means you have to do a little bit more, but at least now it's easy to explain that to the customer so that you can justify additional evaluation, because people don't want to pay for snake oil, but you have to show them. Now, in this case, it was a poor breaker connection. Well, that would have shown up on your thermal imaging cam. It would not have necessarily have shown up possibly with this, because you're testing the outside plastic on the actual breaker, and it's going to be at a different temperature than what it would be back at the bus. And so a thermal camera can see beyond all that. And that's why it's so important to kind of add into your daily routine. So in this case, now, we will teach you why you have to come up with that delta T and explaining it. And basically, it's the difference between your peer evaluation, or two different components at a certain temperature, and the one that is elevated. That difference becomes that delta T. And we'll explain all that in the program, but it goes a little deeper in it. Now, the neat thing about the H128 is that it does normal scanning, but it also has hotspot pointing. Means that even if you're scanning it randomly over the terminations, for example, it will actively select the hottest point in there and record it. And that's really important as well, because it means that a lot of times with things like this laser, you have to be dead set on something. And as you move it, it can change. The thermal imaging camera will broadly look at a bigger scope. And it doesn't matter whether you're using the one that plugs into your phone or the H128 or whatever brand you're using. They're probably going to do the same thing. It's just you're going to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for it, and you really don't need it when it comes to electrical, that type of thing, okay? So that's just a good example and lesson. And you also notice how the lessons are broken down, easy and palatable. That's a key thing for me, is to be able to take these lessons away and kind of give you an introduction about what's going to happen, okay? 1.3, key concept for beginners. All right, emissivity. Emissivity describes how well the surface emits infrared energy. Now, this is very important, because when you're using a thermal imaging camera, you have different surfaces that you'll be testing: plastic versus aluminum versus copper, whether it's shiny or dull, or it's how it reflects the thermal imaging, and it can give off the signals. So there are little tips that we'll give you in here for things that what you need to do on terminations. If it's giving you some random reading and you're like, well, it's probably reflecting. And so we need to change that. So the high emissivity materials, such as painted surfaces, rubber insulation, oxidized copper, that is a high emissivity, versus low emissivity, which is things like polished aluminum or shiny copper. We have to adjust the settings. Now, with this product, it's just really simple. You also can do it with the one that plugs in your phone, but again, you have to go into an app. They both work fine, but the neat thing about it is you get trained to understand that on the fly, you need to change it. And it's a simple two-step click that can change it on the fly. There's also little tips that will teach you about lugging, for example, putting a piece of black tape on it, or using a black Sharpie or a black dry erase pen on it will allow you to be able to take that lug and mark a dark area. So even if it is a low emissivity material, it's shiny. And what happens is that it's not going to give you accurate readings. Well, you can do certain things to correct that. And we talk about that in the program. Example, you have a shiny, scanned a shiny bus bar, may show it at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's actually 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Why? To correct this, apply electrical tape or a dull paint marker on the surface to increase emissivity. Okay, so it's low, it's going to be a problem. You need to increase it like you would with a painted surface or rubber, oxidized copper, even things like plastics and things like that. And it allows the ability for the thermal imaging camera to give you a more accurate. Now that is huge because for between a 90 and a 120 is vastly different. And you want to make sure that you're doing it right. And so you need to understand these. It's not just a matter of going into a panel or going into a situation and pulling this out if you don't understand what your readings are. Right. And so that's where we use a combination of this in order to be able to give us a spot check on a point. And then we validate with this, and then we can go deeper in with this, where this sees a little bit further, right, than what your IR thermometer can read. Okay, so we can do, now you don't necessarily need this one, but again, it's kind of a two-pronged process of how we would do that in validation, that type of thing. Makes sense? Reflectivity, again, high polished surfaces can reflect heat from other sources, making a hot spot appear where none really exist. Okay, so standing in front of a reflective panel might cause your own body heat to register on the camera. Always change angles or positions to confirm readings. So we talk about that and how to move and how to position yourself. We're aware of ambient conditions. You have to understand it. And again, with most of these testings that we do, you have to know what your ambient temperature is. You have to plug that in before you do it. I know a lot of people that will simply just go and start shooting and not understand that you have to take the ambient temperature where you're at into consideration, okay? And there are tricks in order to get an ambient temperature on other surfaces that are around there, or a thermometer, however you want to do it, in order to set your baseline and then you do your testing. We go over all of that in our program to make you more aware of all these things, okay? Definitely go over that. So just kind of giving you kind of that little overview. And of course, we go in to show you the delta T, which is the temperature differences versus ambient air versus the component, or one component versus a similar component in the same panel. That's how you can come up with this temperature difference. And we'll teach you how to understand that, because absolute temperatures don't tell the whole story. A conductor at 120 degrees Fahrenheit might be safe if it's rated at 90 degrees C. Obviously, that's 194 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, at 90 degrees C. So if you're getting 120 degrees Fahrenheit and you cry wolf, you might not realize that that insulation is actually 90 degrees C and it's well within its scope. So we don't want to cry wolf, right? So anyway, that's the concept. I'll take you back over here. So as you can see how this goes, we get into module 2, for example, and we'll talk about pre-planning, okay? And we give you some references so that you're prepared, your PPE, when it's not to be needed, pre-checklists, why it matters. Again, we give you some tips about the H128 because that's the one we recommend. But again, it can be pretty much germane to any. It's fine. Camera setup, we go through what you need to do, understanding your spot distance, a DS ratio. Again, how to do that, understanding emissivity, what the settings or recommended settings should be. We cover all of that. There's some tips down here, again, specific to the model that we talk about, how to set the alarms, how to choose the color palette, all this kind of stuff. So we don't leave you hanging on anything, guys. That's what this course is all about. Let's look down here. So this is field actions, okay? Why the delta T wins, okay? This talks about key temperatures. Now, so I think what you see here is that a lot of times people will interject a lot of images and a lot of pictures. And the problem with that is we get complacent with these images. We get complacent and realize that we have to convey this in written form, just like all technical documents are typically in written form like this. So I purposely am trying to keep as many graphics out of it as possible so that we don't steer you into this thing where you're not reading technical information, so that you can grab your thermal imaging camera and put it to practical use by reading it and understanding it. So this is more of a course, but it's designed more like a technical guide to help you walk through it. Right. So I think that is extremely important for you to understand as we move forward with that. Also down here, you'll see that, for example, avoiding false alarms. Again, that's very critical for us to make sure that we explain false alarms, design heat and environment. Okay, AFCI, GFCI breakers often 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than a standard. Electronics, certain things are going to put off high elevated heat. Whether it's in the sun, direct sunlight, and all this kind of stuff is going to be something that you have to be aware of. Okay, be aware of the angle and triangles, because you could get a reflection. Okay, you could have a shadow on a target that's going to explain it. So it's not just a matter of taking it and pointing it out, right? So all 5 AFCIs are at approximately 112 to 118 Fahrenheit. Nearby standard breakers are 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so the difference in the two is about 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, if you take these numbers and you go say, okay, so the difference with AFCIs, since they all 5 are ranging between 112 and 118, so the difference between all of them is roughly 6 degrees Fahrenheit. That is normal. That means all of your AFCIs are running within the scope, and they're also running within the acceptable balance of what you're reading on the standard breakers that are all around it. Okay, so again, it's just kind of a common sense approach to it. But we go into how to sell it, how to explain it to the customer, how to overcome objections from the customer, how to market it in your daily business. We also go to a section that talks about the Zig Ziglar approach to selling it to your customer without being snake oil. These are real things that you can show the customer. And it is an added service that everybody should be adding. If you're going in to do a service call, and whether or not you're charging for it or not, you should offer a free inspection and free thermal scan. First of all, they'll be impressed, okay, because they don't know what this means. And you're looking for things. And obviously, if something's a smoking gun, then you can share it with your customer. And they're impressed with you. They share it with other people, other neighbors, and things like that. You can explain the reason that terminations are critically important, that loose terminations can cause fire. There's documented proof. We even give some case studies in here on those scenarios. It's an easy sell, but you're not selling snake oil. You're actually selling a process. So we go through all of these modules, teaching you everything you need to know about marketing your thermal imaging to your customer as an electrician. We don't believe you have to be a certified infrared expert to do this, because you're an electrician. And you can understand the differences in product ratings. You can understand the difference. And we're going to give you a lot of that information in there. We're going to show you how to set your values, okay, and how to approach it. And the other unique thing about this is, in this course, we're also engaging what's called the Fast Tracks Interact. So that means that while you're learning, you have questions that you want to post in the course for us to answer. We're going to be here to hold your hand. We're going to be here to answer those critical questions. Maybe you have a question on the H128 and you want to know how to set something in it, or what you should do for this type of thing. Maybe you want some advice on something. So it's a great course that's not like something that you do and then you stop and you don't ever go back. It is a perpetual course. Means that we're going to constantly be adding stuff, constantly be making changes. Once you purchase it, it doesn't expire. You own it. It's not like it has to change for the different code cycles. It's very relevant, and we will constantly be updating it to add new things as we add new things, and you automatically will get the changes. You don't have to do anything, okay? All right, folks. Hopefully you go check out our course. It's Thermal Imaging for Electricians. You can go to our website and pick up your thermal camera at a discount. We'd love to have you in the program. It's a great program, and I think that is something that every electrician should add to their services to help grow their business. Till next time, folks, stay safe. God bless.